My husband brought his mistress to our bed. So I brought divorce papers to his boardroom. The tracking notification on my phone turned green at exactly 10:14 a.m. Package delivered, front desk, 42nd floor. I sat in my car, parked 3 blocks away from the gleaming glass tower where my husband, Mark, built his ego brick by brick, and I felt a cold, jagged smile stretch across my face. It wasn't a smile of happiness. It was the rictus grin of a woman who had just pulled the pin on a grenade and was waiting for the shockwave. Inside that package wasn't a set of golf clubs or a new watch. It was a spring-loaded, battery-operated dispersal device filled with 4 pounds of industrial-grade, ultra-fine biodegradable glitter. Neon pink and black. The kind of glitter that professionals call the herpes of the craft world, because once it touches you, it never, ever leaves. But the glitter was just the delivery system. The payload was buried underneath the sparkle. I took a sip of my coffee, which had gone cold an hour ago. I didn't care. My body was vibrating with a frequency that felt like a high-tension wire snapping in the wind. I imagined Mark walking out to the reception desk. He would be wearing his navy blue suit, the one I bought him for his promotion last year. He would be strutting. He loved receiving packages at work. It made him feel important. It made him feel loved. He would see the box. It was massive, heart-shaped, and obnoxious. I had plastered it with stickers. Open immediately, I love you. He would think it was a grand romantic gesture. He would think I was desperate to rekindle the spark he had stomped out with his Italian leather loafers. He would carry it into the conference room, where I knew, thanks to his shared Google Calendar, he was currently pitching the biggest client of his career. He would put it on the mahogany table. He would smile at the client, a man named Mr. Henderson who hated interruptions and loved efficiency. He would say something charming like, "My wife, she spoils me. Do you mind?" And then, he would lift the lid. I checked my watch. 10:17 a.m. He was opening it right now. To understand why I nuked my marriage with a craft supply, you have to understand last Tuesday. Last Tuesday was normal. Boring, even. I was making lasagna. Mark was working late again. He had been working late a lot recently. The Henderson account, he'd say, loosening his tie and pouring a scotch the second he walked through the door. "It's a beast, Sarah. You have no idea the pressure I'm under." I believed him. I was the good wife. I rubbed his shoulders. I kept his dinner warm. I ignored the fact that he smelled faintly of a perfume I didn't own, something floral and cheap, like vanilla body spray trying to be Chanel. Then, he went to shower. He left his iPad on the kitchen counter. It dinged. I usually respect his privacy. I really do. But the screen lit up, and the preview message wasn't from a client. It wasn't from Mr. Henderson. Sender, Jessica, work. Subject, forward, reservation confirmation, the Ritz-Carlton. Preview, can't wait for our Valentine weekend, baby. I bought that red thing you like. The lasagna tray slipped from my hands. It hit the floor with a wet, heavy slap, tomato sauce splattering across the white cabinets like a crime scene. I didn't clean it up. I stared at the iPad. I knew the passcode. It was his birthday. 0422. I unlocked it. I didn't cry. That's the thing people don't tell you about betrayal. When it's total, when it's absolute, you don't weep. You freeze. Your blood turns to liquid nitrogen. I opened the email. There it was. A reservation for a king suite at the Ritz-Carlton for February 13th through the 15th, Valentine's weekend. Guest name, Mark Stevens. Additional guest, Jessica Miller. Jessica. I knew Jessica. She was his executive assistant. She was 24. She had come to our Christmas party wearing a dress that looked like it was painted on. She had hugged me and said, "Mark talks about you all the time." She was sleeping with my husband. I scrolled. I didn't stop at the email. I went to the photos. There were selfies. Him and her. In his office. In his car. In our bed. That was the kill shot. A photo of them, tangled in my sheets, taken on a day when I was visiting my mother in the hospital. I felt a scream building in my throat, a primal, animalistic sound that wanted to tear the house down. But I swallowed it. I swallowed it until it burned a hole in my stomach. If I confronted him now, he would lie. He would gaslight me. He would say it was just a fling. He would hide the money. We had a joint savings account. We had investments. We had a life. I needed to be smart. I needed to be surgical. I took my phone out. I took photos of every email, every text, every incriminating picture on the iPad. I forwarded the reservation to my own secure email. Then, I cleaned up the lasagna. I scrubbed the floor until my knuckles bled. When Mark came out of the shower, smelling of soap and lies, I was sitting on the couch reading a book. "What's for dinner?" he asked, toweling his hair. "We're ordering pizza," I said, not looking up. I burned the lasagna. "You're so clumsy sometimes," he laughed, kissing the top of my head. I didn't flinch. I smiled. "I know," I said. "I'm a mess." The next morning, I didn't go to work. I went to a lawyer. Mr. Sterling was a shark in a three-piece suit. He looked at the photos. He looked at the bank statements I had printed out overnight, the ones showing business lunches that were definitely dinners for two at romantic bistros. "We have him," Sterling said, tapping a gold pen on his desk. "In this state, infidelity affects alimony. And the misuse of marital funds? He used the joint account to pay for the hotel deposit. That's dissipation of assets. We can claw that back." "I don't just want the money," I said. My voice was steady, cold. "I want him to hurt. I want him to be humiliated. I want to burn his reputation to the ground." Sterling smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Well, Sarah, the legal system handles the money. The reputation? That's up to you. Just don't do anything illegal. No physical violence. No destroying property that you don't own half of." "What about a gift?" I asked. "Can I send my husband a gift to his office?" "Of course," Sterling said. "You're a loving wife." I left his office and drove to a specialty novelty store in the industrial district. The kind of place that sells whoopee cushions and fake lottery tickets, but also has a back room for more aggressive pranks. I bought the Glitter Bomb 3000. It was a canister pressurized with CO2. When the lid is lifted, it spins, spraying contents in a 10-foot radius. I bought 4 pounds of glitter. Not the chunky kind. The dust. The kind that gets into your pores. And then, I went home and printed the documents. I printed the divorce petition Sterling had drafted. I printed the email confirmation for the Ritz-Carlton. I printed the photo of Jessica and Mark in our bed. I folded them neatly. I placed them in the center of the canister, buried under the glitter load. And then, I added the final touch. A custom engraved metal plate glued to the inside of the lid. Cheaters deserve sparkle. I sealed the box. I wrapped it in red foil. I put a giant bow on it. I scheduled the courier for Thursday morning. During the Henderson meeting. Mark had been stressing about this meeting for weeks. "It's make or break, Sarah. If I land Henderson, I make partner." "Well, Mark. You're going to make something." I sat in my car, counting the seconds. 10:20 a.m. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my friend, Chloe. Chloe works in accounting at Mark's firm. She hates Mark. She calls him the Ken doll because he's plastic and lacks substance. "Chloe, OMG. I typed back, "Tell me." "Chloe, I am on the 42nd floor." I heard screaming. Not fear screaming. Angry screaming. And, is that a vacuum cleaner? I smiled. Here is what happened, as recounted to me later by Chloe over 3 bottles of wine. Mark walked into the conference room holding the massive heart-shaped box. Mr. Henderson was there, along with 2 other senior partners and Jessica, who was taking notes in the corner. Gentlemen, Mark announced, setting the box on the table right next to the architectural blueprints. My apologies. My wife, she's a bit much on Valentine's. Let me just get this out of the way. He winked at Jessica. A subtle, gross little wink. He reached for the lid. Probably chocolates, he joked. Hope you guys are hungry. He lifted the lid. Thwomp. The sound was like a compressed air canister going off. The glitter didn't just spill. It erupted. It was a geyser. A pink and black mushroom cloud expanded instantaneously, covering a 10-foot radius. It hit Mark in the face. It coated his hair, his eyelashes, his teeth. It went down his shirt collar. It hit Mr. Henderson. The client. The man who hates mess. He was covered in neon pink dust. The blueprints were ruined. The coffee mugs were filled with sludge. The room went silent for a split second, the air shimmering with a million tiny, reflective particles. What in God's name? Mr. Henderson sputtered, spitting glitter. Mark was clawing at his eyes. I can't see. What is this? Then, the papers fluttered down. They had been launched into the air by the blast. They landed on the glitter-covered table. The divorce petition landed face up. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Petitioner, Sarah Stevens. Respondent, Mark Stevens. Jessica gasped. She stood up, dropping her notepad. Mark wiped his eyes, his face streaked with pink mud where the glitter mixed with his tears of pain. He grabbed the paper. Divorce, he choked out. Then he saw the other paper. The photo. The photo of him and Jessica. He froze. He looked at Jessica. Jessica looked at the photo. She turned pale white. Mr. Henderson leaned forward. He picked up the Ritz-Carlton confirmation email that had landed near his elbow. He read it. Mark, Mr. Henderson said, his voice dangerously quiet. Is this your assistant? It's a misunderstanding. Mark shouted, glitter puffing out of his mouth with every word. My wife is crazy. She's psychotic. This is a prank. It doesn't look like a prank, Mr. Henderson said, brushing glitter off his bespoke suit. It looks like cause for termination. Doesn't this firm have a strict non-fraternization policy? One of the senior partners stood up. We do. 0 tolerance. And, Mr. Henderson continued, you just ruined a $50 million contract negotiation with Craft Supplies. I think we're done here. Mr. Henderson stood up and walked out, trailing pink dust down the hallway. But the show wasn't over. The door to the conference room slammed open. It wasn't security. It was Dave. The security guard. Jessica's fiancé. He was holding his phone. He looked like a bull seeing red. Jessica, he roared. Jessica shrank back against the whiteboard. Dave? What are you doing here? I got a text, Dave said, holding up the phone. From an anonymous number. It's a picture. Of you. And him. He pointed a shaking finger at Mark, who was now looking like a disco ball of regret. Dave, wait, I can explain. Jessica pleaded. Explain this. Dave threw his engagement ring, which he must have been carrying in his pocket, at her. It bounced off her chest and landed in the glitter pile. He turned to Mark. Mark put his hands up. Hey, buddy, let's talk about this. I'm a partner here. You're a corpse, Dave growled. He lunged. He didn't hit him. He didn't have to. Mark scrambled backward, tripped over his own chair, and fell flat on his back into the glitter-soaked carpet. Security, the other security guards, rushed in then. They restrained Dave. They escorted him out. But the damage was done. The entire office was watching through the glass walls. Chloe was recording on her phone. HR arrived 3 minutes later. The HR director, a stern woman named Linda, walked into the room. She looked at the glitter. She looked at the ruined contract. She looked at Mark, who was trying to wipe his face with his tie. Mark, Linda said. Go home. Do not log in. You are on administrative leave pending an investigation. We will mail you your personal effects. But my eyes. Mark whined. I need a doctor. Go to the ER, Linda said coldly. And send the bill to your wife. We aren't paying for this. She's divorcing me. Mark screamed. Smart woman, Linda muttered. Mark stumbled out of the office. He looked like a glittery swamp monster. He had to walk past the entire bullpen. People were laughing. Some were taking photos. He got into the elevator. He left a trail of pink dust all the way to the lobby. I watched him exit the building from my car. He stood on the sidewalk, looking lost. He tried to hail a cab. The first taxi slowed down, saw him covered in glitter, and sped off. No driver wanted that mess in their back seat. He had to call an Uber. I watched him try to brush himself off, but it was useless. He was marked. I started my car. I drove to the gym. I had one more stop to make. I have a membership at his gym. I know the locker combo. 12-34-56, he's not a creative man. I walked into the men's locker room. It was empty at 11 a.m. I opened his locker. I placed a second, smaller box inside. This one wasn't a bomb. It was a slow release. I poked holes in a bag of loose glitter and placed it on the top shelf, right above where he hangs his work clothes. When he opened that locker, it would rain down on him. A gentle, constant shower of reminder. I left the gym. I went home. The house was quiet. I packed his bags. I put them on the porch. I changed the locks. I had called the locksmith at 9 a.m. He was just finishing up when I got back. Rough day, the locksmith asked, seeing the pile of suitcases. Spring cleaning, I smiled. Mark came home at 3 p.m. He was still glittering. He looked like he had been through a war in a fairy kingdom. He tried his key. It didn't work. He banged on the door. Sarah. Open the door. You ruined my life. I opened the door, leaving the chain on. I didn't ruin your life, Mark, I said through the crack. You did. I just decorated the wreckage. I lost my job, he screamed. Henderson pulled the contract. The partners fired me. Jessica is gone. Dave dumped her. Sounds like you're free for Valentine's Day then, I said. You can't do this. This is my house. Actually, I held up the court order I had picked up from Sterling's courier an hour ago. The judge granted me exclusive use of the marital residence due to your dissipation of assets and the potential for domestic conflict. You have 30 days to respond to the petition. Where am I supposed to go? He sobbed. He was crying now. Pink glittery tears running down his face. The Ritz is nice, I suggested. Oh wait. I canceled the reservation. And I took the deposit back. He slumped against the doorframe. Sarah, please. I love you. No, I said. You love yourself. And you love Jessica. Go find her. Maybe you guys can share a cardboard box. I closed the door. I locked the deadbolt. The cleanup bill for the office came to $3,000. The glitter had gotten into the HVAC intake. Mark had to pay it out of his severance package, which was minimal because he was fired for cause. He tried to sue me for intentional infliction of emotional distress. The judge threw it out. Apparently, sending a package to a spouse isn't illegal, and the glitter is considered a prank, not a weapon. Mark is living in a studio apartment now. He works in sales for a mid-tier paper company. He's still single. And the glitter? He told a mutual friend that 6 months later, he still finds pink specks in his ears. He finds them in his car. He finds them in his shoes. He can't escape it. Every time he sees a sparkle, he remembers the day he lost everything. As for me, I'm doing great. I got the house. I got the dog. And this Valentine's Day, I'm going to Italy. Alone. I'm going to drink wine, eat pasta, and never, ever buy glitter again. So, tell me. Am I the monster for glitter bombing my cheating husband into unemployment, or did he just finally get the chance to shine?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.